Well, good afternoon and welcome in to this St. Martin's production. May marks the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, which celebrates the histories and heritage of Americans hailing from across the Asian continent and the Pacific Islands. And today we have two special guests joining us, Ryne, Oshiro, and Renaud from the men's baseball team joining us here. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Trying to take it one step at a time. It's nice to have some sunny weather finally. So
I was about to say the same thing. It's a great day because it's sunny outside and it's nice and warm out. So, yep.
Right. We didn't get many of those days during the baseball season this year, so we got to enjoy them when we can, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. There's a lot of traditions and heritage, part of the Hawaiian culture. What were some of those that you brought over when you first came here to St. Martin's and you got to share those with your teammates and coaches and classmates alike? What were some of those experiences like for you getting to share that knowledge?
I would say for me personally, it was kind of it started out slow a little bit. For me, I'm kind of a quiet guy. My freshman year here, I actually redshirted, so I wasn't really too familiar with everyone on the team and whatnot, and I didn't really have the bond that I was able to create over the years with a lot of the guys. So for the year after my freshman year, my sophomore year, I was able to open up a little bit more with the coaching staff and the players on the team, and I feel like one of the things that I'm not too fond of, I mean, I know of it, but I don't really do it often, is sort of this thing we call back home is pigeon. So the way we talk kind of lets people know that we're from the islands, and a lot of people we're recognized by the way we talk, and it's kind of broken English in a sense. So it's nothing. It's not a completely different language. It's not the Hawaiian language, but it's just sort of a broken English language that a lot of us people from Hawaii are kind of used to, just because that's what we kind of grew up with. I know one of our teammates, Cody Issa, he's very fond of talking pidgin, and a lot of us not necessarily make fun of him, but a lot of the people who aren't from Hawaii are actually picking up from it and kind of trying to talk a little bit of pidgin, and trying to, like, they're always asking us, like, is my pidgin good? Like, how's that one? Like, it's great to see a lot of guys picking up some of that, something that's kind of big in Hawaii.
Ryne, what about you? What were some of those experiences of you getting to bring over some traditions and heritage that you got to grow up with?
Yeah. I think a lot of it, Aaron kind of touched on, just like the whole like pigeon aspect of it, and you kind of don't realize it being from the island. So it's like when we first had like introductions at baseball, like freshman year, it was like, dude, how come you talk with like an accent? And it's like, I don't talk with an accent. Like, it's just the way I talk, but I guess it's just different from the mainland and Hawaii. But like Aaron was saying, like, it's a really cool thing because all the boys from Hawaii and then our teammates we're all on board with each other, of just like our teammates want to understand kind of what we're saying, so they're just playing along with it. But at the same time, it's like a funny like running joke of like, we're just saying things kind of differently, and that's just the way we roll. And another thing that I noticed this year, I was lucky enough to go to Hawaii twice, because freshman year and then this past year we got to go to Hawaii again. So that was a blessing, and just seeing the overall community back home, and the parents giving back to not only the players but the coaches as well, and all the other mainland families that came down, was really cool to see. Just like the getting food after the games, and just the camaraderie after the games is really cool. And I think a lot of the parents from the mainland as well picked that up, because when we went to Idaho, I know, like, or not Idaho, Western Oregon, excuse me, Aaron Niece's family gave us like a little potluck after one of the games. And then last year, like, Finley's family was nice enough to let us eat dinner at their place. So it was really cool thing to see. Just like, it's almost like a community coming together, and that's kind of what Hawaii is. It's like just a giant community on an island. So it's really cool to see.
Well, being a student athlete and a lot of travel, you get a lot of time on the bus. So I'm sure you guys are always talking and swapping stories. What were some of your favorite traditions, talking with your teammates and stuff? Ryne, I'll start with you. Was there one that you always go to in particular that you go, that's one I always like to talk about? That was a good experience.
I would say just the whole idea of like when people refer to like elders as like a first name basis. So in Hawaii, it's just like a big respect thing of like, we call anyone and everyone like uncle or auntie. And I think a lot of the mainland boys kind of were like, yo, why are you calling like my parents like uncle and auntie when we're not related, But it's just like a Hawaii thing of like, it's just out of respect that it's like, auntie so and so. And I think it was just a really cool thing to see because being from Hawaii, you don't really understand what they're saying. It's like, oh, it's just kind of a habit to do. But like, especially on the bus rides, it's like a lot of those questions kind of pop up, like why we do what we do. And it's like everyone starts learning from their culture. So it's a really cool thing to see.
And Aaron, how about you? What's one of your ones that you love to talk about and get to share with other people?
Well, I mean, like I touched on a little bit, I'm not necessarily the most talkative guy when it comes to sort of team things, but when I do talk, I can't really remember bus ride much traditional talking on bus rides, but I do talk a little bit with some of my buddies who actually live in the same apartment complex with me, and I kind of go up there some nights and we kind of talk about just the culture back home and how things are, kind of like what Ryne said, just touching on respect. So that's kind of a huge thing back home in Hawaii. It's all aloha. It's kind of all love. It's nothing. There's nothing really that's kind of stands out for us because we're kind of all about respect, and that's just kind of the way it is in Hawaii. That's just, for me personally, that's the way I was raised. It's always just trying to just be humble and be respectful to your elders, especially. And that kind of goes along with calling your elders, uncle and auntie and whatnot. And it's just it's a sign of respect. And yeah, I guess kind of what Ryne said is kind of they're kind of confused. I know my girlfriend's actually confused with it as well. She's from Washington, so she told me not to call her parents auntie or uncle, just call them by their first name. But it's a habit, it kind of it's been instilled in our mind and kind of the way we grew up, and it's what we do. So
well, one of the big events on St. Martin's campus is the luau night, and getting to experience that. And it's not just people from Hawaii who partake in that. That's a whole campus-wide event. Hundreds of people go, especially when we didn't get to have it for the last 2 years due to COVID. When we got it back, it was a big event, and it's always a special night. What does that mean for you guys, getting to see some of those events, when you're so far from home and what you grew up with, getting to see that kind of an event being taken place and getting to share that experience with other people who didn't grow up in Hawaii and on the islands and didn't get to experience that? Ryne, I'll let you go first, or Aaron, whoever.
I can go first. I think it kind of sucks for us Hawaii boys on the team, just because we were most oftentimes on the road when the luau happened on campus. But just kind of to see the camaraderie and the community come together and kind of embrace this Hawaiian culture it's great. It's really eye-opening, and it allows for something that prospective students might look forward to, just kind of a luau type of thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the food. Obviously there's the hula and the dancing and whatnot, but our food, I feel like our food from back home in Hawaii is kind of unmatched compared to really anything else. So I think it's great that people really embrace the Hawaiian culture and they really enjoy eating our food, or food that's kind of a staple in Hawaii. But yeah, it's nice to see that, and it's nice to see that it's constantly growing and it's getting bigger. I know the Hawaii Club is a big thing on campus as well. I think I'm not sure exactly, but I think it's one of the biggest clubs on campus. But it's great to see a lot of people really embracing the aloha spirit and just kind of coming together as a community and not really like blocking it out or kind of pushing it aside.
Yeah, I think to go off of that too, it's like I think Aaron kind of touched on it, just like the whole like recruiting aspect of like when you like go somewhere and then you notice like just how big a Hawaii club is per se. And then like if you're a student athlete in Hawaii that's in high school trying to come to like the mainland, I think that's one big thing you see is just like how much of Hawaii is kind of taken away or how much is it like adopted with specific like colleges. And for like St. Martin's, it's really cool to see like the whole Hawaii club thing. Like my girlfriend was the president last year, so I like see how much like hard work goes into it and how much like planning and like all that goes like, and it's crazy. It's just like how much the Hawaii people are kind of affected by it. It's like they feel good that it's like an event that kids from back home put on for not only St. Martin's, but like people even outside of St. Martin's, right? Just like in the Lacey community as well. And Burns, like you said, like it's talked about a lot, like in that springtime. It's like, hey, when's like luau? Like luau, it's luau season, luau is coming up soon. But it's really cool to see that everyone's kind of adopting that like piece of Hawaii. And so I think it just goes back to that like whole respect thing is like you have these students from Hawaii who are respecting the culture and like Aaron was saying on it, like it's the aloha spirit. Like we just welcome anyone and everyone as long as like you're respecting the culture and respecting like who everyone is as people. So it's kind of a cool thing to see.
Yeah. Next question. What was when you came over here to St. Martin's and away from your culture, what was something that you really struggled with? Maybe you didn't realize how great it was to have that, you kind of had it every day or something that was just part of your life. And then when you come to a different part of the United States and now you don't have that, was there something that you look back on and went, man, I can't wait to get back home and get to experience that again? Or it's just, obviously leaving Hawaii and all the sun and the beautiful beaches and stuff and coming over here to Western Washington, we don't have as much of that. Was there something though for tradition wise that you kind of look back on and go, wow, I was really glad I got to grow up with something like that?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind just now when you said that was just the idea of like the sunlight. I think you kind of take it for granted when you live there for 18 years of your life, and then it's just like, it's like an everyday thing. It's, it's whatever, it's gonna be nice out today. You don't have to worry about anything. And then rain's like an anomaly back home. So it's like when you come to the Pacific Northwest, it's like the total opposite of like, dude, when's the sun coming out? And when can I not like wear my hoodie and stuff? So I think that was a big thing. It's like, I think I came to Washington with like maybe 2 pairs of pants, and it's just like everyone wears pants every day, because it's so cold. And it's kind of a culture shock too, just to see like the weather and then everything else put together. And then one thing too is this place back home called Zippy's. It's a restaurant that like personally has the best food and like the best menu like anywhere, just because of like its diverse menu. There's like burgers and there's like plate lunches with like rice and chili and whatnot. So it's like if you're craving anything, that's like the place to go. And pre-COVID, like when I was in high school, it was like 24 hours. So any given time you could go there with your buddies, right? And just kind of have a chat, eat some food and just have a good time. So I think that's one big thing that I miss the most is just like having that, like Aaron was saying, like that piece of home, like even the food, like the food aspect, just having that piece of home and just like talking shop with your buddies. I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, kind of to go off of that, for me, I think one of the biggest things that I feel like I really looked back upon was the friendship and kind of the camaraderie and relationships that I was able to build growing up back home in Hawaii. Obviously, I grew up with the guys that I'm friends with for 18 years before college, and it was kind of it was a big shock to come up here and just kind of really have not too many people that I'm too familiar with. My freshman year, I was fortunate enough to room with 2 of my classmates from the same high school, but I didn't necessarily talk to them a whole lot in high school. But It was nice to know that I was with people from home. And I guess to go along with that, one thing that I really enjoyed doing back home is fishing. And fishing back home and fishing up here in Washington is two completely different things. There's saltwater fishing here in Washington, but it's like you go out on a boat and you go catch big fish. You know, back home we can kind of go off on beaches and rocks and kind of fish offshore, and kind of catch small ones. They're legal size and stuff like that, and they're edible. But it's just kind of that something to. It's simple to do back home. You know, you don't have to. So last year I went salmon fishing up here in Washington, and to get to the spot where we were going to fish, we had to walk like really far, and it was really tiring and it was frustrating. And by the end of the day, the waders are kind of weighing down on you, and your back's getting sore. And back home, it's different. You know, where like there's sunlight. You don't have to worry about walking in the water. You're in shorts, you're in slippers or tubbies, and you're kind of just casting offshore and just and reeling in fish. It's something that I grew up doing and I really enjoyed doing, and it's something that I really look forward to doing every time I go back home.
Thank you guys for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.